Hello, today we are looking at essential question number 6. What is the purpose of applying grammar and mechanics skills in my writing? And today we are going to be in conventions, and we're going to look at conventions number 6, which is to find and correct vague, unclear, and ambiguous pronouns by checking the antecedent. Just to review some definitions, a pronoun is the part of speech used to replace a noun, like the word she would be a pronoun, and the antecedent is the noun the pronoun is replacing or referring to. And such as in the case where we use my name, Mrs. Zappia, and then maybe in the next sentence I say she is a mean teacher, she would be the pronoun, and the antecedent would be in the previous sentence where I say my name, Mrs. Zappia. When we look at pronouns and antecedents, we should always be able to point clearly back to what antecedent the pronoun is replacing. When we cannot, that's when we would have a condition of using a vague, unclear, or ambiguous pronoun, because we don't really know, based on the way the sentence is worded, what the antecedent is. An ambiguous pronoun means that maybe there's actually multiple options that the pronoun could be referring to. Because of the wordage of the sentence, we're not sure, is it this word that is the antecedent, or is it another word that's an antecedent? A vague or unclear pronoun reference is that there really isn't a clear antecedent at all. So it's sort of similar to ambiguous, but instead of having like multiple options, there's no clarity at all. And sometimes there is no antecedent anywhere in the sentence. So the pronoun may just be there existing with no antecedent at all, and you have to reword the sentence. Common pronoun problems, words that tend to be used when we have vague, unclear, or ambiguous pronoun options. The words this, that, which, and it are the biggest culprits that students make mistakes with in their writing. So when we use the words this, that, which, and it, make sure when we're using them as a pronoun that somewhere previously in a different sentence of that paragraph that you know what specific noun, what specific antecedent that pronoun's taking place of. Let's do some practice. It's tough stuff. So these are the ones that I see most mistakes on the unit assessment. Let's practice. Read the sentences from a science report about the tides. Everyone knows that the ocean tide rises and falls daily. In fact, the tide is so predictable that scientists have created charts showing the exact times for high tide and low tide in different places. They can make these predictions because they know the major cause of it, the gravity of the moon. This gravity pulls on the water, causing it to rise and fall. Which change should be made to correct the vague pronoun in the sentence? A, change they can to charts can in sentence 3. B, change they know to people know in sentence 3. C, change it to tides in sentence 3. Or D, change it to gravity in sentence 4. In this case, the correct answer is actually C, to change it to tides in sentence 3. And let's look at why. Now, I'm not going to say that every time the vague pronoun is going to be one of those words, this, that, which, and it. But I am going to say that within the 4 scenarios, there's only 2 options that change from a pronoun it to an actual noun. Whereas these ones, the 2 up here, A and B, are looking at the word they, which tends not to be vague. Not saying that's always going to be the case, but if we're looking at options and it's to look at a word that uses the pronoun they versus a couple options that are using a pronoun with one of these 4, I'm going to start with checking one of those 4, just because they're the most common culprits for having vague, unclear, and ambiguous pronouns. And especially, in fact, since the correct answer is the word it being used vaguely. So let's look at this change it to gravity in sentence 4 part first, since it is already correct. So here's an example of using it, but it's not vague. This gravity pulls on the water, causing it to rise and fall. Here's the word it. It's a pronoun. The antecedent is which one? What is the noun the word it's replacing in this sentence? The correct answer is the water, causing the water to rise and fall. So there's a clear noun for that antecedent. Let's practice a couple others. So in the other correct answers, so change they can to charts can in sentence 3. So in sentence 3, it says they can make those predictions. If you look at the previous sentence, it reads, in fact, the tide is so predictable that scientists have created charts that show the exact time for high and low tide. So the antecedent in this case obviously is the word that they want us to replace it to, charts. And so because of that, it has a clear antecedent, and charts is a noun. So it clearly refers back to one area. There's no need to make the change. Same with B, with changing they know to people. They is referring back to people, but it's clear. There's no confusion there. There's no reason to worry about it. Let's look at the incorrect answer. Change it to tides in sentence 3. They can make these predictions because they know the major cause of it, the gravity of the moon. So within this scenario, the sentence reads that they know the major cause of it. Now, are they referring to high tide, low tide, or the location of the places? I'm not sure. There's a lot of guesses there. Are they referring to the tide? Are they referring to the places? I have no clear clue. It's a little vague. Because it is vague, there's multiple options that could be replacing as an antecedent. That's why you want to make the change to avoid confusion for your reader. As we approach publication, watch the times when you're using the pronouns this, that, which, and it. Make sure that if you find you're using one of those words and you don't have a clear antecedent that you're referring back to, you make the proper correction so that way your reader is not confused. Go ahead and practice the type 1.